Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Chair, I would like to add my voice to those who conveyed condolences and support to the people of Japan following the tsunami disaster, then to the people of USA for the recent tornado that struck the Southeast of the US, and to all the different countries of the world that have experienced disasters in the recent time and endured high human and economic losses. I am honored to address this eminent gathering of high-level dignitaries and experts involved in the noble cause of disaster risk preparedness, response, and disaster risk reduction that have come from different parts of the globe. On behalf of the Commission of the African Union, I would like to express our deep appreciation of the Secretariat of United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Risk Reduction under the able leadership of Her Excellency Margareta for organizing this global conference on the theme Investing Today for a Safer Tomorrow, at a crucial moment that the global community is getting united towards the global climate change negotiations at the 17th Conference of Parties to the UN Convention Framework on Climate Change, which is scheduled to take place in South Africa in December. We also convey appreciation to the government and people of the Confederation of Citizenland for hosting this global platform. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, disasters in Africa, as in a number of other regions, are increasing in frequency and severity, compounding the challenges of sustainable development and undermining Africa's prospect of achieving the Millennium Development Goals. On average, almost 2 disasters of significant proportions are recorded every week in the region since 2000. Poverty, food insecurity, and unemployment play a major role in land degradation as the poor and hungry are forced to overexploit natural resources to meet the immediate needs for survival. Climate change is increasing the risk and exacerbating existing vulnerability in the continent by increasing likelihood of frequency and severity of extreme weather events. Rapid and planned urbanization is another crucial driver of vulnerability in Africa. An increasing growing population of Africa's population now lives in urban centers. Chair, in the face of these growing risks and vulnerabilities that our populations are exposed to, political commitment to implementation of the global regional frameworks for disaster risk reduction remains strong in Africa. Over the past 2 years, a substantive revision of the Program of Action for implementation of the Africa Regional Strategy for Disaster Risk Reduction was undertaken to accommodate emerging trends and challenges, such as the strong linkages between disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, being the concepts of risk transfer and investment in DRR. In addition, the time frame was extended to 2015 to align it to the implementation period of the Hyogo Framework for Action. Excellencies, due to the limited time, let me briefly highlight 3 key recommendations from Africa's highest policy organs. First, the reconstitution of the African Working Group on Disaster Risk Reduction to guide the implementation of the Africa Regional Strategy and its Program of Action. It would be recalled that the Africa Working Group was first constituted in 2005. Then the African Working Group was also reconstituted later in 2011. It was held back-to-back with a formal launching of UNISDR Coordinated World Disaster Campaign on making cities resilient. My City is Getting Ready in Africa. These 2 events were held in collaboration with the Africa Regional Office of the United Nations, that is ISDR. I'm glad to report that our additional cities which are Addis Ababa, Kampala, and Narok and Yaoundé have all signed to this commitment. Permit me to quickly state that the African Working Group is an important institutional architecture for providing technical support and strengthening coordination, guidance, and monitoring of the implementation of the program of action. Secondly, a feasibility study has been commissioned to create an AU-led Africa-owned Pan-African disaster risk pool. These activities mark Africa's efforts towards investing today for a safer tomorrow in accordance with the theme of this session. Thirdly, the African Union member states have undertaken to increase their investments in disaster risk reduction through allocation of certain percentage of their national budgets. In the same vein, our development partner and humanitarian partners are called upon to ensure the disbursement of the 1% of development assistance and 10% of humanitarian assistance. Distinguished delegates, I'm glad to tell you that extended program of action for implementation of the African Regional Strategy for Disaster Risk Reduction has integrated climate change, while the draft Africa Regional Climate Change Strategy, which is in process of being validated, substantially integrates disaster risk reduction as core climate change adaptation. At this juncture, I would like to briefly enumerate some of the modest accomplishments of the African region as reflected in the Hyogo Framework of Action Midterm Review, which was published recently. 1, 16 cities have signed into the city campaign. 2, at the national level, governments in Africa have moved forward to implementation. 24 countries have posted their national progress reports. 34 countries have established national platforms. Thirdly, most of our regional economic communities, which are building blocks for continental integration, have developed disaster risk reduction policies and strategies based on the priorities of the Hyogo Framework of Action and the Africa Regional Strategy for Disaster Risk Reduction and its program of action. 4, our specialized sub-regional institutions such as IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Centers, Climate Services Center, Agrometeorological and Operational Hydrology and the Application, and Regional Center are responding to global and regional challenges through enhanced services to disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. 5th, many of our universities and institutions of higher learning are also heeding the clarion call and increasingly involved in building capacity for disaster risk reduction through training, education, and research. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our expectation for the post-2012 Hyogo Framework of Action is that we would like the costing of infrastructure and other developments which have environmental risk associated with them to be given adequate consideration with the applications on the threat of climate change. This is now a global issue. I'd like to conclude these remarks by stating that this global platform offers us a good opportunity to collectively unite, make closer collaborations and partnerships by joining hands with Africa at the COP17 climate change negotiations, which is going to be in Africa for the first time, and fully incorporate disaster risk reduction in the legally binding agreement that is hopefully to come out and to further foster global efforts in tackling the menace of climate change. Africa remains committed to work through its institutions and in partnership with you, or in dealing with risks and disasters. Madam Chair, I would like to thank you. I thank Madam Margarita for organizing this meeting, and I thank you for the success which has been registered. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Madam Rhoda, peace, and for the continued collaboration in Africa.